Hey everybody, wanted to welcome you back to I Told My Wife I'm Paying Bills. I'm Slim,
And I'm black, but once again,
and we are back again. So to everyone, we wanted to say Happy New Year to you. I know it's a couple of days into the new year, probably like a week or two before the first month is out. However, this is the first time you're hearing us in 2024. So we hope your 2024 is good so far. Um, and it's been pretty dope for me. How's yours been, Black? How's yours been
it's
so far?
extremely busy so far.
Oof.
For some odd reason, our where I work at, business picks up tremendously around this time, and all the way up to October of the year. So
Mhm.
it's been grind time since the new year.
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah. So business is about to pick up for me in terms of I work for a school system and they're about to swap semesters. So they're about to go into second semester. When second semester picks up, the work that I do it picks up dramatically again because when they transfer semesters, different things happen. So, yeah,
Mm,
is and this is why I did say last podcast that January might be kind of tight for us, just getting back to the swing of things and everything like that. However, like I said, we got this one podcast, and depending on how it goes, it may be two, but most likely you're going to get one podcast from us this month. Next month, though, we just made a plan. We got a plan that's going to kind of um, is an offshoot of our last podcast for Black History Month. So I can't wait to get into that. So that's going to be dope. Um, so this podcast though, I was kind of thinking, and I was gaming a little bit. We're going to do a gaming podcast, and I was gaming a little bit, and I was like, man, this game has a really dope story. Talking about Starfield,
mhm.
um, I was like, this game has a dope story, and I was just thinking about the history of gaming. Of course, I also watched that the toys that made us. Remember that show I talked about. So on the
Yep.
toys that made us, they actually talked about the history of video gaming a little bit too, and they had talked about Miyamoto, that
Mm,
created Donkey Kong. And he's
yep.
basically the godfather, grandfather, however you say, it, of Nintendo. He's the one
Hmm.
that actually helped put Nintendo on the map from what it was, a playing card company. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I wanted to talk about stories in gaming. When a lot of people play games, some people play games just for fun. Some like Call of Duty. What are some other games that are just like fun games that don't really have stories? Even though Call of Duty does have a story. What am I thinking? I can't, like, well, see, I can't even say some zombie games because um, some driving games actually, driving games, sports games
Hmm. Sports game.
a lot of those don't have actual stories to them. The story is, you are actually playing against this team, and that's how it goes. Um, but a good portion of games nowadays have some excellent stories. I mean, they are well thought out. The game that's kind of centered around our podcast. Our podcast is kind of centered around right now. Gears of War. Um, that has an excellent story that we love. Oh, did you see anything about Gears of War 6 is supposed to have some kind of information they're about to put out soon. Did you see any of that yet?
Well, I know they're having I believe a developers direct. I don't
Uh-huh.
know if you heard about it on it's tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Okay, I
Xbox
gotta
is
check that
having a
out.
developer direct, so you need to you got to check it out, bro. Because remember the game I was telling you about, Hellblade 2? There,
Mhm.
that's dropping. Rumor is it's dropping sometime in May.
Okay,
On my,
okay.
my birthday month. Well, our birthday month. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Taurus.
So that's yeah, definitely Taurus season. So you definitely gotta check out that developers direct because they go over some games that's coming out,
Mhm.
this year and next year after that.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You gotta send me the link to that when we get a chance too, man, because yeah,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I gotta remember. I forgot about Hellblade till you just mentioned it. So much other stuff
Hmm.
had happened around the holidays and everything like that too. So, but man, yeah, I want to see that about Gears 6, man. And we got to get back on Gears 3 so we can go to 4 and 5 before 6 comes
Yes,
out,
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
we gotta get some more game time in. Hopefully, we get some weekends or something like that, we can actually get some really good. We need about a good 2 hours maybe of game time, and we could probably knock
Yeah,
out three so we can get to four, five, and six. Well, four and five, sorry. Um,
yeah.
so going back to what I was talking about though, the games with stories. Tell me, what do you think the first game that had a story was? What do you
For
think?
me,
Yeah, well, well, not just for you, but like in general. Like, what do you think the first game that actually had a story?
the first game I played, uh, throughout the years that actually had a good story to me was Ninja Gaiden. I'm
Mhm,
sorry, Ninja Gaiden. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Ninja
mhm,
Gaiden. You know that I loved that story.
mhm.
A Ninja Gaiden. That we're just talking about. The first game that you were like, oh man, I love this story. Ninja Gaiden, definitely.
Okay, okay. Well, so it's a little bit debated. I've read something that actually said the first game with a narrative was actually Adventure for the Atari. It was released in 1980. Do you remember Adventure? The
I
one where
do
the dude
not.
was like dude was swinging across the swamps. There was alligators and pitfalls and stuff like that.
Nope.
No? Okay, all right.
That's
Well,
what.
I
If
remember it a
it
little
came
bit.
out in '80, if it came out in '80,
Hmm.
you know, yeah, yeah, definitely. If you would say 85 to 88 to 85 on up, then I probably would know
Did
what it was.
I can't remember. Did you say you had an Atari? Did you have an Atari?
I had an Atari, but I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't. I don't remember many games from it.
Oh
I
man.
only remember the Pong, and I think I remember. I think you played Galaga on Atari, and
Hmm.
then that where
Hmm.
it came from. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's funny too because we had an Atari, and I remember playing it a lot. I pretty much played it. We played it until like I think we broke it. Like, and then when I mean by broke it, I don't mean broke it like typical kids would break stuff. They argue over the game and it breaks like that. No, we played it until it just like one day wouldn't turn on, and we was like, what's going on? And yeah. Because that was the thing. My brother and I we really played it, and I think my sister played it a little bit too.
Mm,
So I remember Adventure. I remember some other Atari games, and so you can kind of say some of these other Atari games actually did have a narrative, but the
mhm,
actual game that a lot of people say have a narrative, including the show I was talking about, the Toys That Made Us. Um, a lot of people say the first game was Donkey Kong in 1981, and
mm.
Donkey Kong actually didn't come out on a console first. It came out in a cabinet first. So
In a what?
on a cabinet, arcade
What
cabinet?
now?
Yeah, it came out on an
Oh
arcade
wow,
cabinet.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yep,
didn't know.
yeah. So, um, so basically what happened was, I think it was Space Invaders came out the way it was described. Space Invaders came out or something like that.
Mm,
And then Nintendo tried to create their own version of Space Invaders. They
mm,
made all these cabinets and sent them to I think it was sent to the US or sent somewhere. They made all these cabinets of a space game and they sent them somewhere. Well, by the time they were actually able to get their game out, another game was created. I think it was Pac-Man. It might have been Pac-Man, but it might have been something else. But basically nobody wanted to play the space games anymore. And Nintendo was like losing their mind. They was like, what are we gonna do? Uh
mm.
then basically, it was put out to the company, and they was just like, "Look, anybody who comes up with these game with a game, we'll go ahead and put it into development, and with a good idea, we'll put this idea into development." And I do not want to chop up his name, but Mr. Miyamoto came up with Donkey Kong, and once he came up with Donkey Kong, he um he basically did it to where they can actually hook it up to that cabinet and they just change the software, not the hardware. Hardware, would stay the same. They changed the borders. I mean, not the borders, but the paneling. So of course, it was different and everything like that. But here's a little known fact. Well, some people may know this. Not a lot of people may know this though. Do you know Donkey Kong was actually originally supposed to be Popeye? So
No way.
yeah, so Nintendo actually had the license for Popeye, and then in the process of making this game, this Popeye game, which is funny because I remember playing a Popeye game later, and I can't remember if it was for Nintendo or it was Atari. I think it was for Atari. But anyway, Nintendo ended up having a license for Popeye because they had playing cards. So in the process of making this game, they lost their license, and everybody started
Oh
freaking
wow.
out. They was like, "What are we gonna do?" We started doing all this stuff for Popeye. What are we gonna do? Well, what they ended up thinking, and they ended up figuring out was they just changed the characters. So Donkey Kong ended up being changed to Brutus. Sorry, Bluto ended up being changed to Donkey Kong. Popeye was Mario, and Olive Oil was the princess. They changed them all to
Mm,
these characters. And actually, Mario wasn't named Mario until later because he was originally for that game. He was called Jumpman. So
mm.
that's some other, yeah. It's kind of crazy, it's pretty funny how things come up, how things change that way, you know. Um, Donkey Kong was the first game that people are saying actually had a narrative to it. But like I said, it's slightly debated online that Adventure was had a narrative before. Um, so going back though, you said Ninja Gaiden was the first game that you actually remember playing that had a narrative. What other games that you had that the narratives that come to mind?
Oh, there's so many, man. Are you talking about games that you started playing in the beginning, or are you just talking about games in general? Uh, you know,
Yeah, so I'm just talking about like, earlier games that you remember like when you were young. So like a game that I could
okay,
say that I remember having a pretty decent narrative was actually like Ninja Turtles, that hardest
yeah.
game, the game that caused you to burn a set of carcass on
Oh
fire.
yeah. A piece of my past that I just I really don't want to remember. But yeah, yeah. That yeah. I would have to say, like I said, it's Ninja Gaiden the first, and then what's another game from way back in the day? Oh, Dragon Spirit. I loved Dragon Spirit.
I don't remember
I
that
don't know if you
game.
ever played it.
Can you describe it a little bit?
Okay, Dragon Spirit was you're supposed to you're going against this, I forgot what the name of the actual the enemy was in that game, but I can remember when the game first started. It was on Nintendo. That's where I played it. When the game first started, um, you were a guy that was, you was on like a cliff. You drew your sword, and then like you saw like a lightning bolt, and after the lightning bolt, you became this big dragon.
Hmm.
So it had something to do with fantasy, of course, and all that good stuff. And it was sort of like how Galaga is.
Hmm.
It's sort of like it was sort of like that. Only you're taking down prehistoric beast, pterodactyl, stuff like that. Because you're fighting this boss. And I really like the story because after each stage you save this particular these particular princesses.
Hmm.
Each stage you free them, and the world becomes a better place. These particular princesses were imprisoned by the boss, and the boss enemy.
Mm,
You know, so after you free the last one, you end up taking on the boss.
that's
You know,
funny. I don't remember that. And that was for the Nintendo.
that was well. I think it was on a couple of systems, but I
Hmm.
think Nintendo was the first place I played.
Okay, okay. I don't remember that. That's funny. So, but hmm, I'm trying to see if I remember
Yeah,
that. I'm gonna have to do some
that's
research on
old.
that one.
That's old school, buddy. That's
Oh.
old school.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
me and you both, there's certain games you remember,
Hmm.
and I'm like, how you, what, when did you play that? You know,
Yeah, yeah. So,
But that was one of the ones that I really enjoyed.
hmm.
Because I thought the concept was really, really interesting. But the fact that you could be a dragon
Hmm.
and you get these power ups where you're a one headed dragon, but you could become a three-headed dragon, have all this this fire that you spitting out. There's different particular ways the dragon can attack you. You
Hmm.
know, using different attacks. So it was it's it was real. It was a real good game, man. For back in the day, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
For back
So,
in the day.
and here's a funny thing. So, we're saying these games, like these more obscure games that we've played with the narratives, and thanks to Miyamoto, the way it described too, the way they described it is he had this idea for this game, this massive one of the biggest massive games that had multiple boards other than just one board. This game today, even today, people are just in love with this game. There was something about this game that so many people loved and followed. The Legend of Zelda.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
now, tell me you remember playing that. Please don't say you never played it.
Of course I played it.
Okay, thank you.
But
Yes.
here's the thing. Here's the
Mhm.
thing. I didn't play it until Ocarina of Time came out.
Oh, okay.
So all the things that built Zelda into what Zelda it was,
Mhm.
I didn't play it until Ocarina of Time came out on the N64.
Oh. So, I didn't have an N64, so I've played a lot of these other, Zelda games on my PSP, my Mighty PSP. I think A Link to the Past is one of them, and I've played a lot of them. I'm so sorry to all the Legend of Zelda lovers out there that I have not gotten that deep into the game, because there's even one that just came out recently for the Switch that everyone is into. Um, but, like, another one, Majora's Mask, I think it is. I never played
That,
that one.
yeah,
Um
that came out after Ocarina of Time. Now that one I played a little bit of it, but you know, the beginning of it. So you know, I would have to say I didn't spend too much time on it because it didn't draw me in
Mhm,
like Ocarina of Time.
mhm.
You know, so I didn't play too much of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but Majora's Mask was real interesting. But I did play after Majora's Mask. You know, on GameCube, I played Twilight Princess.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I've heard of that one too. I
Mhm.
still didn't play it. So and I feel
Yeah,
so bad saying I've never played these games because these are classics that everyone loves. I hear people talk about all of them so much that I
yeah.
know the names of these games before, I've never played it, but I know these games, and I know these are beloved games. But I
Here's the
just never.
kicker.
Mhm,
Here's the kicker. The thing about it is that you know even after Twilight Princess,
mhm.
I ended up getting a 360, Xbox 360, and I heard about this game called The Elder Scrolls.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, when I got the 360, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion uh, came out,
Mhm.
and I had never played it before. And then when I played it, you know, I actually bought this big strategy guide for it because I
Mhm.
had no idea, you know, how to play it or what, you know. When I played that game, I said, I don't think I'm gonna play another RPG ever again. You know, what the Elder Scrolls because it took me by storm. I said, oh, where did this game come from?
Mhm.
And come to find out, they had like two, like they had the Elder Scrolls Morrowind before that one, and then they had Elder Scrolls Arena, I think, or I think they had what was it? I forgot what the Elder Scrolls High Rock or something like that.
Mhm.
But either which way, you know, that's what kind of got me away from Zelda because Zelda was my number one RPG before that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to think, what other games that I've played. You talk about RPGs. Here's what's so funny, and I don't think you're gonna remember this game here. Um, I actually played Mario RPG. Have you ever played that?
No, never heard of
Man, that game was wild because it was actually pretty dope. It was really dope.
it.
And I don't know how many people actually loved the game. I really enjoyed that game. I played it multiple times, like over from start to finish. Played it multiple times, um, and it was really fun. I wonder if I have that on my PSP. I gotta look and see if I have that one on my PSP. But I actually had a strategy guide for that one. How Nintendo put out those strategy guides and things like that. So that was
Mm.
another one that was actually pretty good. And you got to play as a whole bunch of different characters, and there was one person that was kind of a robot person that you played, a star person or whatever, and I can't think of all the characters that you had, but each character had their own little special thing, RPGs, So yeah, that was actually really really dope. But after Zelda, it seemed like once Zelda hit, a lot of people was like, "Oh wow, so this is a new kind of concept. Let's see what we can do with this." Once the original Zelda came by, so there was all these other games that actually came up with different narratives, and to a point where now a lot of games, even including Call of Duty, they have just the game and then they have story mode. Well, lately the new Call of Duty doesn't have story mode, so that's a little thing why a lot of gamers hate the game. I mean, besides it being, you know, Modern Warfare 3 is basically Modern Warfare 2, but that's a whole other thing that a lot of people's gonna get into that, I
Yeah.
don't get into. But
Mm,
yeah, some Call of Duties have a story mode to 'em, there are some games, they have what they call a story mode, but they're not really a story mode, or they have a career mode.
mm.
So they once a lot of these game companies realized that people loved stories in their games, they started incorporating that more and more. So, um, so what we're gonna do today, everyone, Black and I want to talk about some of our favorite storylines. Some these aren't necessarily the number one storylines that we pin down. It may or may not be, because my choice is not the number one, but it's one of my favorites. And it's really too hard for me to choose my number one. But Black, go ahead and start off and tell me your one of your favorite stories, game narratives that you've played so far.
Okay, yeah, like Chris just said, it's hard to. There's so many games. It's hard to come up with a number one. You know, um, but I'll have to say the one I want to mention is the Mass Effect trilogy.
Hmm.
This is before. Obviously, this is before Andromeda. Andromeda was a little confusing how that storyline went with Mass Effect, but I'm talking about the first three.
Hmm.
Um, that storyline drew me in from the very start because one, I'm a huge. I like outer space. I like the universe, how complex it is, and you know, uh, just the fantasies of faster than light travel,
Hmm.
and all that good stuff. And Mass Effect brought all that to life, and just the story of Commander Shepard and how he was able to figure out what was going on with with the Reapers and for anybody who's ever played Mass Effect, which I'm pretty sure those who have played it know what I'm talking about. Those who
Hmm.
haven't, they probably have an idea what I'm talking about because it's that popular. But Commander Shepard pretty much was he was a soldier for the Alliance Navy, and turns out on Mass Effect 1, he ends up getting this mission with this Spectre. He was a Turian. Turian was a different alien race.
Hmm.
So he gets this mission to go to this particular colony uh, that was based in, I think it was Horizon, if I'm not mistaken. But the planet was called Horizon, and there was a colony on. Okay, yeah. So let me correct that, Chris. It was
Mm,
not Horizon. It was Eden Prime.
okay.
That's the first planet that he went to, and when he realized that the he went to figure out what was going on because he got this big distress signal from Eden Prime, and the colony was under attack. They didn't know they were these I would have these Satan robots.
Mhm,
They were called the Geth. And the Quarians, which is a different alien race, they made them. But long story short, the Geth were actually being controlled by this Turian called Saren. And Saren had this big, gigantic ship. They thought it was Geth technology. To come to find out, it was not Geth technology. The ship that he actually was was kind of like flying around in, was actually a super intelligent AI ship that was called Sovereign, and Sovereign was a Reaper,
Mm-hmm.
and and this is kind of what opens up, you know, uh, exactly, your curiosity. Exactly, okay, well, what's a Reaper, and how is it that this Reaper has technology that no species in the galaxy has ever seen before. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this thing rips through fleets, and they can't figure out what it is, you know. So Shepard, long story short, Shepard goes on, to solve the mystery. He realized that Saren is just a plant for Sovereign to bring the Reapers back. Come to find out, the Reapers are intelligent AI ships that destroy all intelligent life in the galaxy every 50,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Shepard's mission is in the first Mass Effect is to stop the Reapers stop Sovereign from sending a signal to the Reapers. So he does that. He accomplished that to the other Reapers because it's not just Sovereign; it's many of them. So he ends up, at the end of Mass Effect 1, he ends up doing that in line with, you know destroying the Geth, most of them anyway, and he ended up postponing the Reaper invasion. It's just more of the same. The first particular species that they discover, see, they get this technology faster than light travel
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. All the other species in the galaxy, they get it from these ancient alien beings called, I forgot what their name was. I can't believe I forgot. Oh my, it's on the tip of my tongue. But they were an ancient alien race, and they thought they built all the mass relays in the galaxy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the mass relays is how you go from one star to another, one star system to another throughout the Milky Way galaxy. They have relays all over the galaxy, and that's how you go from one star to another. That's another way they can, they form faster than light travel. They thought the this particular ancient alien race built them, but it wasn't them that built the relays. It was the Reapers. They built the relays so they can come back from dark space and destroy all intelligent life. Now, why destroy intelligent life? Because I guess, well, I don't guess. Oh, it's just a theory because that sort of the end of Mass Effect 3 was a little wacky.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, that is that they wanted to. They felt like intelligent life, like the synthetics versus the organics, they always went to war. So the Reapers were like, they were there to set things straight. you know. So just destroy all intelligent organic life every 50,000 years and let it build up until other intelligent life, advances to stars and stuff like that. So they always felt like it was always going to be a war. So
Yeah.
that's how it went. It's a little the Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
The story gets really really good, but Mass Effect 3 they go into a bit more. It's a bit more symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a subjective
Yeah.
in terms. I think they kind of dropped the ball, and I ain't the only one that think this because there was a massive. Everybody was upset about how Part 3 went as far as the ending. Mass Effect 1 and 2 was really 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 good. 3 was good too as
Mm-hmm.
far as the combat and all that good stuff, but I, the story, and I know we're not talking about gameplay like that, but the story, it's a really really good story until the end of 3.
Okay, okay. So do they plan on having any more out to finish out the story, or was the story finished out on 3?
Well, like I mentioned before, they had the trilogy, Mass
Mhm,
Effect 1, 2, and 3,
mhm.
and then they had Andromeda. Andromeda was supposed to be uh, before Mass Effect 3.
Okay.
See, and turns out they end up sending uh like these big light. They're kind of like life ship, and they sent them out to Andromeda. To figure out if there's any, just to know, kind of, they extended their exploration beyond the Milky Way galaxy.
Mm.
And Andromeda, they ended up getting caught in this wavelength of energetic webbing. There was something going on in Andromeda that was the story was a little, I don't know, it was a little weak in my opinion.
Hmm.
I liked Andromeda because of the gameplay, but the story was kind of weak.
Yeah.
It's the trilogy. That story is kind of going. It's kind of hard to top because it's such a good story.
Mm.
So, but they got Andromeda, and they got Mass Effect, a new Mass Effect coming out that you haven't heard about, and they're going back because Commander Shepard was supposed to have died in the third, but I don't think a lot of people are saying that Commander Shepard is not dead.
Yeah.
You know, and in this new Mass Effect, Liara, which is sorry, which is another. That's the beauty of Mass Effect. There's so many alien races, different alien races in that game.
Hmm.
And they all have their own backstory of how they came up, and discovered the relays themselves. So it's so much lore in that game that you're like, oh my gosh, that's just it's just an awesome trilogy.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome trilogy. I'm looking forward to the new one to see where they go with.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And it's so funny because Chris used to tell me about Mass Effect all the time, but I
Mhm.
I didn't have the bandwidth to play it at the time. I wonder if I'll be able to go back and play it. Because I've been telling them for the longest time, yeah, I'm gonna check it out, I'm gonna check it out. And I just haven't been able to have it. But now since I've been playing Starfield, I'm like, yeah, I guess I kind of do have the bandwidth to play it. um, but yeah, he has been telling me about Mass Effects for the longest time, for real. And and
Well,
and
if
I've really have been putting off playing it because of how massive he told me that it was and how it was. And he was like,
yeah,
yeah, but you could still just play the story, and everything in it. I was like, man, that scares me, dude.
yeah,
I get sucked in.
it's gonna suck you in. The story itself is gonna suck you in because
Mhm.
hearing me tell it, it's hard to explain the trilogy. But
Yeah.
my opinion, if you actually are going to play it,
Hmm.
get Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Matter of fact, I
Hmm.
believe it's on Game Pass. If I'm not mistaken, so you can pretty much download it, for free.
Oh,
So if you do get a chance to check it out, I say start with the original Mass Effect, and start with that, and go from that. It's kind of hard to jump in 2 or 3,
yeah,
not knowing exactly. You have to play 1 because that's what sets it off.
yeah.
And then 2, I mean, 2 is my favorite one.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
and
sort of like Gears.
I think
That's
that's
sort of
the
like
one.
Gears. 'Cause Gears 2 is my favorite one.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was the one that Chris was telling me about the most was Mass Effects 2. So I
Yeah,
think
because
so.
I mean, I'm trying to tell you, 2 is just you talk about the soundtrack, the I mean the characters, because there's they got new aliens in Mass Effect 2. I mean, just the it's just off the chain, man. It's just
Mhm.
one of my favorite ones, you know.
Yeah, and you mentioned Game Pass. I got a little upset at Game Pass a couple weeks ago, last week, week before, because my daughter ended up finding out that the online version, Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, is no longer free on Game Pass. I am so mad about that.
Well,
And
it's not really. You gotta understand that's not really. It probably because
well,
you
I'm mad
understand
because I
that
wanted you to play it.
yeah, no, I'm saying, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is not an Xbox game. They have these deals with third parties and
Hmm.
they run out, so
Yeah, I
you have
know,
to
I
take
know.
advantage of it when it can. So I mean, if they would took off a first party game,
Hmm.
but I know with these third party games, like for instance, perfect example, uh, the Dead Space remake,
Hmm.
that's on Game Pass. I hadn't bought it, so I wanted to try it out on Game Pass. I beat the whole thing on Game Pass,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Yeah, I need to beat this game before it actually, gets kicked out of Game Pass." 'Cause I know it's only a matter of time because it's third party, publisher EA, made that game.
Yeah.
So Take Two makes Grand Theft Auto, so it was only a matter of time before they took that out.
Yeah. So Rockstar. Um,
Okay, yeah. Well, Take Two is. I'm sorry, Rockstar is the developer. Take Two is the publisher, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, or vice versa.
yeah. So it was um either way, I wanted us to play it so you can actually check it out, so you can actually see the good part about it, the heist and things like that. And I wanted us to get a chance to do that, but we actually had the Gears of War time in there, so But Grand Theft Auto Five actually has a really good story, and the different heists actually kind of enhanced that original story for Grand Theft Auto Five. So that's why I really wanted
Yeah.
us to get some game time on there. So.
Well, I own that, right?
Oh, no, I didn't know you own the online version for the, Xbox One? I mean, sorry, Xbox, Series X?
I don't think for the series. Well, I mean,
Because 'cause
I,
so basically for when you own Grand Theft Auto, 'cause it's different. So, when you own Grand Theft Auto 5, that
mhm,
one, it can go between the, Xbox Series X and the Xbox One. When you own
yeah.
Grand Theft, Auto Online, that one is only on, GTA. That was only on the Xbox Series X and other, higher, next gen systems. That's why.
Okay, that's probably why it didn't look that good on mine because I think they upgraded the graphics.
They did, and that's
You know,
that's the
for
online
online,
version.
and that's probably why it didn't look good when we were playing it because I was like, don't look. It
Y
doesn't look like it was upgraded.
yeah,
So no. Now that makes sense.
so that day that we
Now that
played
makes
with
sense.
Will, that day, it was not the newer version. That was the older version,
Yeah. See. Yep.
and that version wasn't updated yet. They had updated it, like, a couple of months later. That's why.
Yep.
So I wanted
Okay.
you to see the updated version that actually is really good. It the load time is way faster. It's so much better. So, um, but sorry, we went off on a little tangent there. Back to Mass Effect. There is going to be another one coming out, correct?
Hmm.
And the story, you think the story is gonna actually, you think they're gonna bring Shepard back, or have some kind of thing about what happened with Shepard, or is this gonna be something totally different?
I think my personal opinion.
Hmm.
I think they bringing Shepard back because they ended up because Mass Effect is Shepard.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't see how you have a Mass Effect. They tried it with Andromeda and it was an ultimate fail.
Yeah.
So Shepard is Mass Effect.
Right.
Shepard and some of the characters they built Mass Effect around is Mass Effect. So it's like there's no Mass Effect to me without Shepard.
Mhm.
They just made him too much of a face for the franchise. You know what I'm saying?
It's like
It's like
Mario
they
game
can't
without
move on.
Mario.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like that. You just can't make a Mass Effect without having Shepard. It's just to me it's impossible.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
impossible. You have to bring him back, and
Yeah.
that's what they teased on the trailer for the new Mass Effect. The possibility that Shepard is alive. It's almost like think about Gears. Think about Gears without
Marcus.
Marcus Phoenix. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
Think about
they
that. Even though on the newer ones, he's an older guy, but they still got him in it.
right. So I think what they're doing is they're actually introduced his son in there. My prediction is so they can continue on without Marcus Phoenix. Phoenix. I think they had introduced them into into 4 and 5, and I think he's gonna die in this next one. So they
Oh
can
wow.
continue on with the younger crowd, but they can actually continue on the game, and they do something different, because in the last two he was old and haggard, and and he was still fighting like Marcus Phoenix fight,
Right.
but he was old and haggard, and
Yep.
he was working with his son and everything like that, and they were trying to make it more about the younger crowd, and that's why
Hmm.
they made the female character, I can't remember what her name is at the time. They made her a big connection. They made her a big part of the story. So I
Yep.
really do think that they are going to have the younger crowd, and JD and his friends are going to be the next generation. So they can I predict they are going to kill Marcus off. They killed off almost everyone except for him and Beard. Um
Yep.
And I don't remember. I can't remember if Cole was in there. I think Cole might have been in
Yeah,
there.
Cole. They ain't killed Cole yet.
Yeah, they didn't kill Cole yet. Okay,
Cole's still there.
yeah. So, but anyway, I predict that. But let me get into the story, the narrative game that I chose. Because we don't talk about PlayStation that much. And
Mhm.
I actually chose the PlayStation game because I love, and as soon as I say this, everyone's gonna know. I love Greek mythology. I love the Percy Jackson series. I
Yep.
love a lot of the Rick Riordan stuff. Um, and this game, when the first time I played it, I lost my mind. The
Mhm.
God of War franchise.
Oh yeah.
So, so I've played 1, 2. I started 3, but never finished it. But I've watched the cutscenes, so I know the story. And then I played God of War for the PlayStation 4. I don't have a
Yep.
PlayStation 5, so um, I'm not able to play Ragnarok, but I want to play it. So maybe I can get my nephew to bring his PlayStation and play or whatever. I don't know. But either way, I want to check that out. I want to check out Ragnarok when I have time. Um, but God of War franchise. So the basics of God of War, for those who don't know, is such a good story. The God of War starts off Kratos. That's the main character. He's a Spartan general who he's almost defeated in a fight. And during this fight, he's raiding all these cities in ancient Greece, and during a fight, he's almost defeated by a barbarian and a barbarian general or whatever. And when he's about to be killed, he calls out to Ares, the god of war, and says that vows to serve Ares. And Ares gives him the blades of chaos, those iconic blades that you see him with. It's the two
Mhm.
blades, and they got chains wrapped around his arms. With that, he beheads the guy, and then he just ravishes the rest of them. He and his soldiers all end up gaining these powers from Ares. These war powers. So and the blades of chaos is what they're called. They're from the depth of Tartarus, so they have some magical powers to them. After that, he wages war across the countryside, and he lands in this one village. Well, in trying to turn Kratos into a perfect soldier, Ares made a big mistake. Ares transported his family there. Kratos is a family man. He has a wife and a daughter. He transfers his wife, transports them to the place, and Kratos accidentally kills them in this temple. He's so
Mm.
distraught. He basically vows to get revenge on Ares, and then before he leaves, a witch curses him and tells him, a seer curses him, tell him, he's going to be doomed forever to carry these scars. So, uh, she makes the ashes of his family like engulf his skin, so that turns him like white. He has like a red stripe down his body, and
Mm.
that's when they start calling him the Ghost of Sparta. So through all this, he's doing a lot, and he ends up serving the other gods and vowing to kill Ares. Well, Ares just
Mm.
game number one starts off when Ares is attacking Athens, and Kratos is asked to save Athens and everything like that, and he's going through and doing all these things, and he ends up finding out that the way to kill Ares, after Ares armies is attacking Athens, the only way you can kill Ares is with Pandora's box. So he's got to go and find Pandora's box. He has to go and go down to the underworld, jump on the back of a Titan, Kronos, which is crazy. Oh, and also something about this game I love too is the massive size of some of these characters. They're like Brumac size. Some of these Brumac size are larger. Like when we get a chance, I got to show you a video of some of these. Man, is so dope. But anyway, he fights his way to the temple, finds Pandora's box. On his way is out, Ares freaking kills him. He
Oh
dies,
wow.
and when he dies, you're like, "What the heck?" So you're like, "No, this can't be the end of the game." Find out that he comes back to life, um, and then he ends up getting to Ares and defeats Ares by using Pandora's box. The box opens up and it gives him godlike powers. Well, After he kills Ares, he's like, and the reason why he starts serving the gods is because he's having nightmares about killing his family, and the gods are like, we can help. Well, they kind of allude to it, but they never say we can help you get rid of these nightmares. Finally, he's like, okay, get rid of the nightmares, and Athena's like, you can't do that. I can't do that. And then he tries to kill himself, and well, Athena transports him to Mount Olympus. He becomes a new god of war. Um,
Mm.
in part two, he ends up like, against the other gods' wills. He ends up like raiding all these cities, doing all this stuff like that. So Zeus ends up killing him. And not no, sorry, I said kill him, but Zeus basically takes all his powers and he's no longer the god of war. And so he vows revenge against Zeus. Um, I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit, but basically a lot of stuff goes down. And he ends up fighting like the Colossus of Rhodes at one point. Um, he uh he ends up like going to Tartarus again, and he goes to underworld because he's like killed by what is he? Yeah, Zeus does actually kill him. That's what it is. So in the end, Zeus kills him and destroys the Spartan army and everything like that, and he's dragged down to the underworld. But on his way down, Gaia, she actually stops him and was like, they talk whatever, and then he's like, "Yeah, I want to kill Zeus," and she's like, "I want to kill Zeus too," because of what happened. If you know the story
Mhm.
between Zeus and the Titans, Zeus betrayed the Titans. So you know, um, so basically she helps him escape and he fights his way back out and he finds like he's got to find the fates so he can turn back time so he can go back in time and kill Zeus, without losing his power and everything like that. Well, the fates, he finds the fates. The fates actually try to turn back time to stop him from killing Ares. So he would never have won, he would
Mm.
never been the god of war. He ends up beating the fates, and he basically turns back time, whatever, and tries to kill Zeus, but Athena intervenes, and she's like, "Zeus is your father." So that's
Oh
wild right
wow.
there. Yeah, right. Zeus has a bunch of demigods anyway. So,
Mm.
um, and that leads to three. So that's how two ends. Three, it leads him actually, most of a good portion of the game is the climb to Mount Olympus, and he takes on Zeus. I mean, there's more to it than that. I'm kind of paraphrasing again
Mm.
because there's so much involved. But three, the one of the best parts of this story is the climb to Mount Olympus. Because you're on the Titans while they're going up and climbing to Mount Olympus to attack it, and you end up fighting and killing Zeus out of there. Um, well, when I got to 4, I finally got and I call it 4, but it's really just, it's called just God of War, on the PlayStation 4. On that one, uh, you're actually in Norse mythology, so he's dealing with a lot
Mm.
of Viking things, and he has a son, and he ends up getting married again. He meets a Norse woman, and they end up having a son, and his wife ends up getting killed. I think in
Mm.
a raid. It's hard for me to remember, but I think she's killed in a raid or a sickness. It's either one of those two, but she dies. Um, and I believe it is a raid. No, it's not even a raid. I think it's I cannot remember the name of that god that's there. But anyway, so through that version of God of War, you and your son Atreus, I believe his name is, or Atreus. Um, you and your son are basically fighting to get revenge, and you vow to kill Odin. So,
Mm.
you know, I haven't done 5 yet, so I can't really talk about 5, but just all of these stories, the fact that this one person, this demigod, he's betrayed by all these gods and all these mythological creatures. You see all these mythological creatures. You see the world snake. You see you see the Colossus of Rhodes, like I explained already. You see trying to think of some of these other characters that you see that are just, it's so they're so massive, and the worlds themselves. So the one thing about God of War 4, well, God of War for the PlayStation 4, the one thing about that is you cross over the same path multiple times. Um
Mm,
and in different ways and different paths, you do see the world snake, and like different things that he does. It makes the water level, like at one point, like the water level is so high you have to take a boat across certain areas, whatever. Well, once the world snake keeps moving, the water level keeps going down lower and lower, and you can actually walk to certain areas, or just jump or whatever, or teleport and all this other things that you do. Um, in that game, also, you start off with a special axe that your wife had. It was her axe, in the beginning of the game, they're like in a calm state, and the wife owned this axe. He used to own the Blades of Chaos, and I can't remember what happened to the Blades of Chaos. Again, because I didn't finish three, so I can't remember if he cast them out or whatever. Um, but you start off with the axe, and then and later on in God of War for the PlayStation 4, you get those Blades of Chaos back. So you have the choice to
mm.
either use the Blades of Chaos or this axe. And it's so dope. It is so dope, the things you could do with these. Um, you can actually do like different finishing moves and things like that. But I chose this story mainly because like I said, I love Greek mythology,
Mhm.
but the way the story is so well planned out, and the different things that they did, the different mythological creatures that you meet, the people that you meet, the people you talk to, is so good, and I can't wait to see how the story for Ragnarok goes. I almost want to go ahead and get. I know they actually have a collection. I think I want to get the collection so I can go through 1 through 3 for the PlayStation and play it, and just so I can actually finish number 3. You know,
Mhm.
um, I think I kind of want to do that, and then I gotta get 4 back because I let my nephew borrow it, and he I don't know if he still has it or not, but I never got that back. But I think I want to play 4 again, and just to see like if there's anything I missed or whatever. So, um, but God of War 4, well, God of War for the PlayStation 4 is such a good game. It's so it's so clear. However, it was already pretty good. Like it was already the way the character's design was. Like Kratos
Mhm.
is so massive, and the voices of it. It started with. Do you remember Living Single?
Yeah,
So do you remember the dude who played Kyle on Living Single, the guy with the dreads? That Will
yeah.
actually kinda looks like. Um, he originally voiced, Kratos, but now, Christopher Judge, is voicing Kratos. He's in God of War for PlayStation 4, and I believe in Ragnarok. So, though, Christopher Judge is also he was in Stargate Atlantis, I think it was, or Stargate, whatever. But he's in a lot of other stuff. When you
Mhm.
see his face, if you don't know his name, when you see his face, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I recognize that guy, big black dude."
Got it.
Um, but you know, the voice actors are so good, and just like I said, the story of that is just you get so enveloped that you almost forget like you're playing a game except for the gameplay. But like when those games come on, like they got the giants of frost giants and different things, and you know, I think Loki's in there too. I think Loki's the one that you fight. I can't remember for sure, but um that originally killed his wife. But I like I said, I can't remember all of it because it was such a long time ago. It was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe more, that I actually played God of War for the PlayStation 4. That
Mhm.
it was such a long time I forgot. Um, but I do want to play them again. But those games, man, they were so good that yeah, they were good enough for to make me want to play them again. So like I said, that may not be my top favorite, that's definitely high on my list. I mean, because there's other games that I favorite that have good storylines. Halo. Halo's such a good story. It has such a good storyline, which a lot of people will debate that their storyline sucks. However, I love this the Space Marine storyline. It's such a good storyline that
Mhm.
they have a TV show based off of it.
Yep.
So And the TV show season 2 is about to come out too, so that's actually, pretty cool. But a lot of people have already started saying negative things about season 2. So, I'm still
Yeah,
kind of
well,
anxious to see it.
yeah, yeah, you always go there. There's some, it's hard to satisfy people, man. People are
Exactly.
fickle, so
Exactly.
you
You
know,
can't satisfy everybody. So,
yeah,
but there's so many other games, and this is something that we can probably revisit because there are so many games that have storylines that have such good storylines, that kind of got you enthralled, that you would think about. So
yep,
we definitely need to revisit this and come up with some of our other favorite games with stories. Um, but yeah, that though this one is my one of my top favorites. And yeah, Mass Effect. Like I said, I will continue to debate playing that, but I know that you get sucked in, and it's already hard enough resisting Starfield. Because Starfield
yeah.
is
I mean,
such a good game with such a good story that it's
yeah,
hard to resist that, but I know that it takes so much time that I cannot do it.
yeah, yeah. I try every weekend. I try to resist Starfield
Mhm.
and focus on something else, and I just can't do it.
Yeah,
You
man,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I just can't do it.
Well, with that, we wanna go ahead and wrap things up here. Um, but if you want to, go ahead and email us, let us know some of the games that you actually feel actually have great storylines. Maybe that might be one that we'll actually talk about. You know, um, hey, we might even invite you to talk about it with us here. Because I kind of want to talk to somebody about Ragnarok and how that game is and how they like that. So I kind of want to get some
Yeah, well,
information about that.
yeah, yeah, that's actually a good idea. I mean,
Mhm,
to get someone who, and not just Ragnarok, and just someone who who has a PlayStation 5,
mhm.
who's experienced different games on that, and
Yeah, definitely.
have them come in and talk about it.
Mhm. Yeah. So, well, my cousin actually, I think Raina, she has a PS5, I believe. So, because
Mhm.
but she talked more about the Switch. She actually plays more on her Switch anyway. So, but yeah, I
And
believe
it's hard to
she's a PlayStation player. So,
it's yeah, yeah, it's hard to get them to admit to that they actually play on a different console than the PS5, because
yeah.
there's a lot of there's a lot of fanboys and fangirls out
Yeah,
there.
man, yeah. So,
So,
but we
but
wanted to go
we
ahead and
wanted to go ahead.
wrap it up here. And like I said, we will be coming out with more content in February, possibly with 2 episodes in February. This is only going to be one episode for January. However, like I said, a couple weeks we'll go ahead and get some more going for February. We're gonna try to do our best to get more out. But February we got something good, similar to last February. February is Black History Month, so we got something coming for that. Um, but for now, if you wanted to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at Told My Wife Podcast. If you wanted to email us, Told My Wife Podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. I told my wife I'm paying bills. I ended up realizing too that we're actually on a lot of platforms. We're on quite a few podcast platforms, so you can actually share. Please share and like our podcast. Subscribe. That helps us out. I'm trying to go ahead and get us like spread out a little bit more. So if you see somebody who's a gamer, go ahead and share it for us. We're actually on iHeartRadio now. We've been on it, but I never checked before until recently. So we're on quite a few platforms. We're on Pandora, so we're reaching out to a wide audience. So anybody can find us. We're on quite a few platforms now. So um, but for now, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. If you got anything, hit us up. You got our socials, you got our email address. Uh, until the next one, until you hear us back in February for our Black History podcast, I'm Slim.
I'm Black. Checking out.
Yep. And thank you for listening, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your month. Can't wait to come back for that next one. I'm excited about that one actually because I just had a really
Oh,
good
no doubt.
idea. Yeah, I got to I man, that one. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. All right, y'all have a good one. Bye.